Welcome back, people. This is Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast. I'm your boy, Mr. Prez, and with me always,
it's your boy Cash, aka Exec P. What's happening, good people?
Hey, Cash. For all the new people who's just tuning in to us after 2.5 years of us doing this thing, tell them who we are and what we do.
Easy, man. Don't Sleep on the Couch is a podcast about music, sports, entertainment, culture each and every week on Tuesday at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch us talking about the latest topics in the culture. This week, we're going to keep it relatively easy. Music, sports, some TV shows, just some good talk and good banter. So y'all stick around. Y'all check the time stamps for everything on what we're talking about, because I'm tired of telling y'all what we're going to talk about, because sometimes we may skip it. It just depends on how good the conversation goes. So we're not going to give you the notes up front. We just going to give it to you in the time stamps. And if it's something that you want to listen to, then keep on listening.
Yeah. Hey, numbers are a big thing. So if you listening, you like it, spread the word. Just like we do on this music thing. If we see something that we like, we kind of spread the word. We appreciate if you would do the same thing for us. We definitely want to thank all our Patreon supporters. Once again, they the one who help us out big time on keeping this going on a weekly basis. Make sure that we stay committed and get it out by 5 a.m. Eastern time every Tuesday. I know there has been like 1 or 2 times in the past 2 years where we slipped at 5 a.m. But it's so far in between, but we have never missed a complete day. I don't think. I'm pretty sure of that.
Nope.
So, but maybe just like I'm saying like 1 or 2. I'm literally saying once or twice where we'd have missed that.
That's that military Tuesday, background, man. It's that military background, that ability to figure it out or lose sleep. Just getting the job done. So one thing you gonna know about us is that we gonna work hard and we gonna outwork the popular guys, the loud guys who don't be saying shit. We see a lot of different podcasts out there that are not the quality of our podcast, but whatever. You live and you learn, right? But we do appreciate the Patreon supporters, and you can find us on patreon.com/DSC_podcast. So if you're listening to this right now, I implore you, take your time, your heart, and open up your wallets, people. Open it up. Spend a couple dollars with your boys. Get some bonus material each and every month, and just see us grow, and tell a friend, like, look at this podcast talking about things that we talk about all the time, but we're talking about it in our way and just how you and your friends talk about it. So holler at us on DSC_podcast. So that's patreon.com/DSC_podcast. And we're back.
All right, Cash. So every so often, man, we have an agenda. We have what we're going to talk, but I feel like this is one of the episodes where I'm going to say, scrap all that. We're going to have a conversation, and we're just going to talk about, what's been going on. So let's start off. We ain't had talked about no books in a while on the leadership portion. Have you come across anything that you want to, that you think everybody could get something from on a good read or anything?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I've been reading Carmelo Anthony's latest book, and it's called, hold on, I got it written down here, Carmelo Anthony, Where Tomorrows Aren't Promised. So you kind of learn a little bit about Carmelo and where he comes from. And if you're not a fan of him, I think, or you're just a fan of how he moves and how he operates, then you definitely should check in with that one. Again, it's a memoir. So if you're into those type of things and you're heavy into sports, which we are, that's a part of what we do here on Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast. So I checked that out. Then the other book was the 50 Cent, Rick Ross, The Perfect Day to Boss Up. So I listened to that in full a couple weeks ago. I always get a lot of gems from Ross. I know he does a lot of hyperbole with the different type of things that he talks about on his books. But I appreciate the grind. I appreciate the grind in the words, although they may be basic in nature. Sometimes you're going to catch a few gems out of there. And sometimes it's just things that you need to hear to reaffirm how you want to do things in life. So I definitely enjoyed that book. If you guys want a breakdown of the book or a quick 5 to 10 minutes, I definitely will do that for you guys as some bonus material. So that's some of the stuff that we do on a podcast, actually, is we do bonus books where we do just leadership material on that. So, but those are the two books that I've caught recently. And then I have a new book that I'm trying to get into right now. So hold on one second. Let me grab it because I want the people to see it because it's kind of cool.
Well, I'll talk about the book that I'm doing right now in the meantime. So I'm digging into the Gucci Mane Guide to the Guide to Greatness. Yeah. That's the name of the book. Guide to Greatness. And it's just Gucci Mane giving out some gems, very similar to how the Rick Ross and stuff do it. But it's with somebody that you can relate to. Like that's the difference in all these. Like they probably ain't saying nothing, but I tune out those other books because like it's coming from a different perspective, a perspective that I can't necessarily be aligned with. But like from a perspective from somebody who done been in a struggle or something like that, then yeah, I can go hand in hand, and their language may be a little bit more rougher or coarser for some people, but it's perfect for me. So there you go.
Yeah, and Prez, the book that I was talking about is the Daily Stoic here. Hopefully you guys can see it in the camera there. So it's by Ryan Holiday. So I like to read these just quotes and different things to start my day outside of prayer or anything like that. So I like these books because I always like to give it to people who are not necessarily into a specific religion, but are just into positive affirmations and things like that. So this is a good book. I read it each and every day, and it has something in there to build upon as far as how you attack your day. So it's always a different perspective, always a good read in a quick 2, 3, 4 pages. 365 days, 366 days on a leap year that it has in there. So I always like these type of books and different outlooks.
Yeah. All right. So that go to books. What about music wise, outside of just new releases? What have you been listening to?
Oh, well, shout out to one of my favorite artists ever, HOF, with his induction to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this week. I've been heavy on my HOF kick. So on the B-sides, everything B-sides, I've kind of been listening to that playlist that's on Tidal. And he has several different playlists on Tidal. But yeah, I've been definitely rocking with Jay this whole week.
I'm proud of Jay. But I need to see this rock and roll list of rap stars that's in this. Because I feel like it should be some other people in front of Jay. Good on Jay for getting that, though. But I just think it should be some other people in front of Jay. I ain't
like
got
who?
the complete list.
Let's get into it. Like,
I ain't got the complete list. That's what I'm saying. I ain't got the complete list. But I just feel like I just already know that they ain't put everybody that should be up in there. Before JC.
I don't know. He's kind of arguably one of the greatest that's not like rapper wise.
He is. So we know Pac is up in there. I'm pretty sure Big is up in there, right?
Yeah.
But it's a lot of other ones up in there, like during that little era that I think that should get up in there. But if they get up in there at the time, who cares? You know what I mean? Jay-Z, he was a big influence right after that. I would say ending right after that big era and pushing on till, damn, he's still doing the shit now. So yeah, he definitely should be up in there. Especially after he stole his style from Young Chris and elevated from that point.
Look, man, I'm not standing. I'm not standing for this blasphemy, man. I'm not standing for this blasphemy, man. Like we try to have good talks, and then he goes come with this random shit about him stealing Young Chris flow. Do any of y'all know who Young Chris is? Yeah, no. And this is one of my guys, and I hate to do this to Young Chris. I hate to do it. But am I influenced by people who I'm around? Absolutely. Did he steal his flow? That's some urban legend, man. Like he didn't steal Young Chris flow. Come on, man. You gotta.
You can definitely see the switch.
You gotta relax. You
can see the switch. I mean, right after that Blueprint and Pressing Forward, where he came out with could be arguably some of his best stuff. You know what I mean? Like it was a nice little switch. I'm not going to take away from his earlier work. Reasonable Doubt was a classic as well. But I'm saying like that push after that, it was big.
Like I said, man, heavy on the HOF this week. I will not stand for any press slander for Jay at all. Go listen to every album. There's not a weak album except for that one possibly with R. Kelly, the first one had some jams on there, but it was
kind
of
jams.
It's kind of bad.
I know. I have went back and listened to Kingdom Come, which I thought was a weaker one at the time when it first came out, but that one's damn good too. So, but I remember when it came out, I was like, "What in the world is this?" But that, and then
it was the noise too.
Like all
it was
shit,
the noise behind that too, because that started to become a thing, and people started to keep on saying it and keep on saying it, and you like it get to the point. It's like that was Twitter before Twitter, like just. Mm-hmm. People keep saying something about an album and you like, yeah, because it didn't hit you off the jump. It's kind of like what we was talking about last week, where certain albums or certain people and albums we'll get into this week as we talk about some of the newer music that came out this week, and in terms of just not feeling it right off the bat. And these are artists that we like, that we absolutely check for each and every time they drop. But sometimes certain artists and even our favorite artists don't come out with dope shit that hits, that resonates. And sometimes it takes years for you to actually rock with it. You know what I mean? I think Kingdom Come is definitely one of those albums that aged a lot better than how it felt when it first came out.
Yeah. As for me, man, I don't know why, but I went on a Fabulous kick, and I went and listened to every last one of his albums over the past couple of weeks, like from start to finish. Probably missed a couple mixtapes up in there. Mixtapes, they stand out a lot better in his catalog than his albums. Matter of fact, his last two albums, when I went back to it, I was just like, there's some rough material to get through. It was like I was looking for that gem that I can just like, okay, this is it. But it was like one or two on those albums, and the rest it was just like and like obviously I like Fab. Well, that's the reason I went back through his catalog. I wasn't trying to. I had in my head that all these things was jams, but then as I going back and listen to it, it was like I guess it's kind of not what I thought. But at the Street Dreams, I think Street Dreams was good. I like the Young OG project, and then the Freddie versus Jason. I like that too. But that's about as far as I can go when naming his albums about good material to actually go listen to. And I guess it was like that internal thing with me where people always like, they don't give him his credit. And I was like, well, let me go back and just listen. I think that was just in my head. Like nobody brought it up. I think it was just in my head. So I was like, I'm gonna go back and like, really review his catalog. And some people are right. And I hate when that's the truth. And I think we talk about this of artists that you think that you think highly of, but just ain't got that material to back it up if you was going to go in a defense.
And like it's more to the point of something that it's crazy because I posted something on Twitter a couple of weeks ago and I was like, yo, why are classic albums more highly coveted than a classic material in terms of just, you may not have a classic album, but you got way more classic material than possibly somebody who has one classic album and a shitload of other stuff that doesn't quite meet the mark, but they haven't stood the test of time either. Like they came, they had a 2-3 year run and went and never really resurfaced to the level of the height that their album, felt like or is revered. And what do we weigh more? Is it the classic album? Is it the sustained superior performance in terms of the music over, like a Fat Joe, Fabulous, Jada Kiss? These are guys that have classic moments, classic songs, but in many circles that I talk to, they may not have classic albums. I need to know, Fred. Like, I mean, just let me know. Those are just the guys.
I definitely want to clarify this because I told you I listened at the mixtapes and stuff. I'm talking about the albums, the studio albums that he released. Those are the ones I'm questioning. Now, the Soul tape, I will jump up. Like y'all gonna give him credit for that. The whole series, and then the Summertime Shootouts. I like that too. So, bam. But yeah, the other material, like the actual studio albums, that's what I'm talking about. And it was at his earliest. So you kind of got the growth but you was kind of like, how did he get strong alone at the beginning? Like, that's how I was thinking. Like, And it had to be the features that he was on other songs. He usually killed features and stuff like this. So that's where you was doing. But like when it came to the album, I didn't find any of them like a instant classic.
But my thing is, Press, like, why? Why do we not include the mixtapes? That's what we grew up off of. From when we first hopped off the porch, got off the stoop, wherever you from in America, like in our era, we're damn near 40. We're about a year from 40. All right, both of us respectively, right? Also, happy early birthday to my man, Mr. Prez. We'll remind him next week again of how old he really is, but happy early birthday to Prez.
All right, appreciate it.
No doubt, brother. No doubt. But my point is, like, we have to include mixtapes. We have to include everything as far as a body of work, because guess what? One or two things is going to happen. If that mixtape goes and everybody knows it's a cult classic, we're going to say that, right? We're going to heap praise upon it. You know what I mean? So if you're going to be able to take praise from a mixtape and now called a project, because they're not necessarily mixtapes anymore. They're focused projects with new beats and all that. And it's been that way for some time. Why can't we just include the projects now? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's fair game. That should be fair game to add in their discography, especially if it's on DSPs.
I got to judge them with what was going on in the moment in time. I can't go back and redo the parameters, and that's where I would say it'd be big different. The people who are doing it now in these projects, like that's the way it was, right? So I would say with Fab, like his mixtape reign was good, but his studio album, like it's questionable. It's questionable in my opinion on the products that he was putting out. I'm glad that he grew, and like I said, those later albums I had a bigger appreciation for. But it seems like he learned how to sequence and put that stuff together a little bit better as he grew in the industry, you know. So, but yeah, those earlier ones, man, it was rough getting through. I would like for you to revisit. I know you're a bigger Fab fan than I am, so like I would like to hear your take on this. And I don't want to influence it too much.
Yeah, I don't even really have to listen. Like Fab falls into how Kiss is for me, how Styles P is for me, how Hove is for me. Like everything, all the albums, the things that I like about them is like that's like muscle memory as far as remembering. So I remember that first album came out on 9/11. I remember that shit being dope to me because it was a switch up from Blueprint, from Hove. Because and then two cats from Brooklyn too. So you got to imagine being from Brooklyn, like how good that felt to see two dope ass projects who have lasted 20 years now. These albums are 20 years old and they still sound pretty good. Like Holla Back Youngin'. Like that's before I was doing deep dives and being over analytical about music. This is when I enjoyed music more, when I was living the music more. You know what I mean? Not necessarily what these guys were saying, but just it didn't take that much for me to like an album. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes nowadays, like we too over analytical, in my opinion, on what we like and dislike. And Fab, all the way up until like possibly, I'll probably say he fell off like maybe after album 3 to me in terms of me really enjoying a project. And I forget what album
that was Street Dreams, right?
Yeah, I wasn't a super duper fan of Street Dreams. Like they had the singles on there. But it was another one with Junior Reed, and I forget what album that's on. Gangsters Don't Play. Like there was a lot of shit on there. The play off the Carlitos Way. I can't remember the name of that project. So I like that Loso's Way.
Yeah, but that's what. Yeah, that Loso Way. Like that album kind of introduced us to what he was eventually going to come on
Soul
Tape. Yeah, like.
So I like that. I like that.
Oh, okay. All right, you saying
I might have my numbers. I might have my numbers mixed up, but I know what's on certain albums as far as what came out. But I say all that to say, like, that's where my classic material versus classic album thing came out. Because if a motherfucker's shooting 60% every time he come out in sports, that's a pretty high clip. Well, especially and depending on what sport that is, but let's take it in terms of NBA. You know, if you shoot 60% every time you come out, you're a pretty fucking good player, possibly one of the top 75 Hall of Famers type guy. You may not ever win a championship in terms of a classic album, but you can't be underappreciated. Like the George Gervins of the world, the Dominique Wilkins. These dudes were badass guys. You feel me? Like that's just all I'm saying is like I got my Carmelo Anthony's. I'm contemplating getting a Carmelo Anthony Laker jersey because I think he may win it. He may win it given some health things. But like I'm a fan of those type of guys. And they're not necessarily winners in what people are going to remember. But they have those classic performances and those, and they are consistent with it. You know what I mean? Like they'll go out there and complete 94% of their passes on the team. You know what I mean? And then they have the 1 or 2 years where they kind of excel and was in those MVP talks, right? Like that's those type of players you're talking about. The Derek Carrs, correct? Yeah, man, the Derek Carrs of the world, man, when they go out and do their thing, and you know what I'm saying? Like you can't really hate on them. You know, I didn't take the picture, Prez, so that's my moment. That's your moment. That's your moment right there. That's your moment. That's your moment. I like how you got that one off. But yeah, man, it's guys that's gonna perform, and you're gonna always remember those type of players, and they were probably better than a 50 Cent. Now, 50 Cent has gone on to be a mogul. 50 Cent got one classic album. The rest you might like a lot, but he got one classic album. Questionable, you know, some mixtapes if you want to throw that in there. But
I would have to agree. Like it's one classic album. What's the one where he pointing the gun at the? I like that mixtape.
Curtis.
No.
Power of a Dollar.
No.
50 Cent is a future. It's in silver, 50 right? Cent.
Yeah, it's like a gray background and everything. Like
it was like a lot of the songs on that project was off Power of a Dollar that never actually came out. Yeah. I just can't remember the name of it.
And then they released it. They released this one, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing. Like that was super dope. It had Ghetto Quran on there. All those type of joints. Like that's right. When you knew 50 was going to be a monster.
It's Guess Who's Back.
Yeah, Guess Who's back. So Guess Who's Back, that project, everybody loves that shit. Yeah. That I know that are 50 fans, and you knew he was coming when he dropped that project, and it was only a matter of time before he got the production. And then when he did with Dr. Dre, well, shit, the rest is history. But
yeah.
You know, there's a lot of guys. What about Southern artists like that you feel they're dope, classic material, but not classic albums, or underappreciated? You know, like people, they're in a lot of talks because I didn't grow up heavy on the South. You know what I mean? So I'm relying on you for this.
So as for underappreciated albums, man, I feel like most of the down South like classic is like unanimous, like with down South people. Now, where I feel like they didn't get their credit outside of the South, and it took so many people so long to like latch on and everything. I mean, you hear a lot of artists now even was giving like No Limit their credit. You know what I mean? And what Master P can do, they're intertwining a lot of their old school raps and reusing some of their hooks and things nowadays. But like it was a point in time where a lot of people didn't want to acknowledge, like what the impact P had on the game and stuff like this. So that's kind of where I feel. I know his numbers and stuff was always ridiculous because of his deal that he had and how much money he made up front off those first couple of albums and everything. But I mean, I just remember just talking to people when I first like came in the military or whatever, you know what I mean? And then like a lot of them didn't even know about all these things, the stuff that I thought was just, so that was my first little taste out of the South. So I'm talking to people from all over, and like what I was considered a classic, they just, I don't even know who that is. Like, what?
I was one of them.
What have you been listening to?
I for sure was one of them. I was heavy on my East Coast shit, and my guys are better than your guys. And what you crazy? But it was shameful too, because at the same time, like somehow, some way, the Hot Boys, Cash Money broke through for me, but not necessarily P and his crew. And I don't know what it was. Maybe they were marketed to us differently up north, or maybe it was the co-sign by Jay on the High Juvenile remix. And just, I don't know, man. We love Lil Wayne. We love Turk. We love BG. We just liked everything about them cats, man. And they just started to infiltrate New York. And I don't know what it was, with Master P and No Limit. It's just like they made it up north, but it wasn't as accepted as Cash Money was. And they just broke through. And, it's like Master P and those guys cracked the door open, had their foot in it. And then Cash Money came and broke that shit down. And then, they became household names. And that's when hip hop kind of began to really change and accept the South, from, in my opinion, man. Like that's when cats started to get shine.
Yeah. And that Trick Daddy too. I don't think y'all was big on Trick neither, huh?
No, we wasn't heavy on Trick until Take It to the House. Like shit like that. Like Thugs R Us, you couldn't deny that. It was like, what is this? You know what I mean? Then soon, slowly but surely, I remember vividly Memphis Bleak having Trick Daddy and T.I. on Round Here, and then you had the High remix. You had all that happening at the same time, and we were starting to embrace those guys, and they gave the tracks a different type of flavor, man. And it was just like, why are we being ignorant? And it still was some East Coast cats that were a lot more ignorant, but I think the more and more I was in the military and moved away from hearing everything in the city, quickly and often, like on the radio and stuff like that, and being mixtape heavy. Started listening to a little bit of everybody else's stuff, and then lo and behold, I was like, oh shit, this trap music is fucking fire. Oh shit, you know what I mean? Like this guy, I remember Ain't No More Playing GA with Pastor Troy. I remember being in a club in Texas, some little random town in Texas, man, and that shit came on. These Southern cats in there was acting a different type of crazy. Like this was like the equivalent of Annie Up. Like when that shit came on in a certain party, you just knew, let me get, if you wasn't about that life, let me get my shit. Let me get near an exit because this shit might go down. And I remember
it was a lot of Lil Jon songs that used to like get the club rowdy, super rowdy too, man.
I didn't know what them songs were. Being a young New Yorker 1920 in them clubs, you know what I'm saying, with the fake ID, sipping on that blue motherfucker. That was a drink back in the day. I forget, they let me in, so whatever it is, what it is. We all do that, right? And I'm bent off the blue motherfucker, and I'm in the parking lot. Pop, 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 pop. But I remember going out when shit was getting wild with No More Playing GA and just all the down south shit that cats that lived in the GAs, you just everywhere in the South.
It was every time we went to Oakland, right? Every time we went to Oakland and left the club, it was always something popping off, right? It went
down in Oakland every time we went. Shout out to my homie Cornell, man. Like, man, sometimes, you might be the baddest motherfucker where you from, but when you ain't where you from, it'll humble you real quick. I remember that shit. Man. You remember that? And Friday where the dad, old boy dad that got jacked by, that got snuffed by Debo, when he was like, "You want some, old man?" And then he was like, "No." And then he went on about his business. That's how I felt like it was that one night we was in Oakland, where it was just like, "Hey man, you really going to this corner store and gonna leave us in a car?" Nah. It's time to get the hell on out of here.
We getting out of here.
It's time to get up out of here, man. I ain't know how to drive at the time, so I was at y'all mercy. 2 minutes away from where they was
just popping off at. Like, nah, bro. Like, come on, let's go.
Yeah, man. So crazy times, man. Crazy times. But yeah, man, let us know about that classic material convo. Like, why do we value the albums? Is it just because it's an outdated thing or something that we came up valuing as far as albums meaning everything, or can we start to debunk that old way of thinking? I mean, I think it's time. There's too many projects and too many mixtapes and too much stuff intertwined to not really give these projects and these mixtapes a level playing field, because they take credit for it when it's great.
Yeah. So, but here go my problem with mixtapes. I say this and we'll end it off there. My problem with mixtapes was like, okay, especially old school, like you coming off a different beat. So half of the work was kind of done for you. You kind of already had a sound that you could hear and you can kind of twist it and add a little bit more flavor to it. Mm-hmm. Now, when you got thrown in the studio and now it's original beat, you got to come up with the concepts and you kind of seen where some of these people falter at, like they wasn't as creative when it came to doing everything from the ground up, or it seemed that way. I don't know if they were, like it could have been the industry just not letting them put out what they needed to put out and saying like, nah, that's trash, you're gonna do this. So that's how I can do. So I can only talk from that point. But with the newer mixtape / projects, whatever you want to call it, they're coming up with original beats and stuff like that still. So it's still that you see that full creative process. It's rare that you see somebody just go, other than a remix now, jumping on the song with somebody, that they just steal that whole style flow and try to revamp it a little. Unless you're talking about the new remixes that you don't like Wale for, even though he brought out Q-Tip and everything.
All is good in my world now. That's all I was looking for. All I was looking for, some public just love. You know what I mean? Like these legends deserve that, man. Like I know Vibrant Thing wasn't my cup of tea. It never has been, but I can't. I'll be a fool. I'd be a fool to deny how good that record was when it was in the clubs, because I was able to go out at that time. And if it got the asses shaking and I was single at the time, I was with it. So it's a two different type of music I like. It's the shit that I listen to Monday through Friday, but Friday and Saturday when I live to go out and be social and be around some badass women, definitely one of the shit that I covet. You know what I'm saying? It was the Vibrant Thing. So that's a part of your life in chapter 2. So but I like when the legends are shown their love. And I saw a little bit of the Drink Champs interview when they talked about the song. And this is prior to him bringing out Q-Tip at Rolling Loud. And he kind of just showed a different perspective on it. So sometimes we don't know the whole story or whatever, but, until it's brought to fruition and guys do things like that. And they were in Queens, actually, you know what I'm saying? So it's just dope. It's just dope. And I like to see more of that. I like to see more of that type of camaraderie. And you see it from time to time, but just hope that it continues to happen, especially from the legends that put a lot into this game.